How's it going today? I hope fantastical. And yes, that's a word, fantastical. Well, if you know me and you follow me by now, you know that I make up my own language. So there, it's going to be a fantastical day. All right, guys, I was asked a question about reoccurrences that happen at the same time every year. So I thought I'd chat with you a little bit about it because I thought it was a really interesting question. And I have a few perspectives on it that I thought maybe if anybody else had the same question might be helpful to them. So basically, the question that was asked is somebody has an experience, an emotional experience at the same time every year. And so they're able to track it. So they're able to see, oh, it's usually at this time of year that I feel blah, 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 right? Typically, if you're asking about information like that, it's not a good feeling, right? It's a bad feeling because people rarely complain about feeling good. All right. I know I do not complain about feeling good. So here's the deal. There's a few perspectives that I feel can apply to this situation. And of course, just remember any information that I give you is strictly my own opinion. Please feel free to do research, anything like that on your own, because I am a fan of people finding out information from many sources and then them coming to their own conclusions. So this is just my perspective. I have two perspectives. One would be like your earthly perspective, right? Because we are wearing our human earth suits as we live on the planet Earth. And therefore, we have to abide by earthly laws and earthly ways. And then there's a metaphysical perspective, since we are spiritual beings having a human experience. All right, so I'm going to talk to you first about the earthly experience. Typically, if there is a time of year that you are associating with a bad feeling, most likely there was a traumatic instance that happened to you or that your brain deemed traumatic, where you had to go into a survival mode or survival instinct for you to experience that negative feeling, and it's being held in your body. Okay, so when that time of year comes around, the body is remembering that instance, or if you want to call it original incident, whatever you want to call it, the body is remembering it based on like what the human eyes are seeing. Like if it's seeing, like, for example, the month of April, every April sucks for you, aside from, tax season. Although that can be traumatic as well. If your human eyes are seeing a particular word or a picture or something like that, of course, that information goes to the brain, right? And the brain has already built some sort of neural pathway that has deemed that original incident a traumatic experience. And it can be anything, people, anything. It could be you were picked up from school like 5 minutes late to actual physical, sexual, or verbal abuse. So the scale or the level of trauma doesn't even matter. It's the fact that your brain in that moment deemed something dangerous for you, and it had to go into survival mode. So it leaves some sort of imprint in your body. And this is also energetic. So your body is holding the trauma in a certain area in your body, and it is being reinforced or reignited, I guess you can say, when the human eyes are seeing or experiencing something like a trigger of some sort, whether it's a month or whether it's an image or whatnot, okay? So when it happens on a continuous basis, it means that there's some sort of emotional attachment that has not been healed. That's a helicopter, by the way. F to the Y to the I. It hasn't been healed and it needs to be healed, okay? So it needs to be looked at, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be healed through implementation over and over and over again until that emotional charge is dismissed or dissipated, or it leaves. So from the earthly aspect, you are experiencing something traumatic that is reinforced because it hasn't been dealt with on a consistent basis every time at that year. I mean, a great example of that is holiday time. I mean, so many people have a lot of trauma around their family. So every holiday, no matter how great their life is going, no matter how successful they are, if they're in a great relationship, their body is going to hold this this original trauma. And if they haven't dealt with it to help heal that, then it's going to come up over and over and over again. So there is some sort of connection with an original incident that happened, for example, in the month of April. Okay. So that's the earthly experience. So in order to heal that, you have to start doing your emotional trauma work, which will help clear blocks from your life anyways and get you going and moving and unstuck. Now, metaphysically, as spiritual beings, we are energy, right? So we have this electromagnetic field. Our soul, our essence is energy. Waves and frequency, light waves and frequency. The human body is density and matter. Now, since the inception of your soul, every incident, every experience is logged in or collected in that energetic space, let's call it, container, whatever, called the soul. So it builds upon every lifetime. It builds upon, it builds upon, it builds upon. So from a metaphysical experience, perspective, a reoccurrence of something that happens over and over and over again can have a past life connotation to it. So just like working on the earthly emotional trauma, there is the spiritual and karmic trauma as well that needs to be healed and worked out. Now, oftentimes they can actually be the same thing, where if you work on your human trauma, you can help clear your karmic and spiritual trauma too. And it's actually advised, or at least my personal opinion, is to do both your earth work and your light work to clear both. And that helps in the evolution of your soul growth, which means that is the lesson that soul has learned and no longer has to repeat in future lifetimes. So, this can be really complicated and this can go really deep. And of course, when you're talking about the metaphysical and the spiritual aspects of this, there is no freaking way to prove any of this unless you've had an NDE, a near-death experience, and can come back with a very different experience or perspective, let's say, that gives accurate details of like what's gone on, where you can actually go back and research information and then get that validity. So, though this is first of all, this is a really good question. Okay. Really good question. And there's no exact way to answer it, but if you are experiencing reoccurring experiences, does that make any sense? If you are experiencing anything reoccurring that has some sort of emotional, response in your physical body or in your outside world, there's two reasons for it. One is your human trauma that has not been healed around the situation that most likely happened during that time frame. And the other thing is that it could be past life experiences that still haven't been able to be worked out. The lesson hasn't been learned. The soul still needs to grow from that. So I hope that answers your question, or anybody's question. I appreciate you writing into me. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to chat about it with you guys. So this is very much a forum for conversation, and hopefully it helps you stay connected, because it definitely helps me stay connected. And I appreciate all of your comments, all of your engagement, and I couldn't do this work without you. So thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a really great day. Stay connected.